Member for Vancouver Fairview.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Wait. Members, this House will come to order before the member continues. Vancouver Fairview.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Well, once again, when members on the other side of the House hear about real British Columbians struggling with affordability, they blame the opposition instead of their own policies. Honourable Speaker, the government...
Members.
So let me once again raise a real story of real British Columbians. Yesterday, my constituent Johanna Reid called to tell me she and her neighbours were recently issued a rent increase notice of 35% based on the geographic comparability policy. She and her neighbours are organising to contest the rent increase, but they are stressed and worried by their landlord's demands. So, Honourable Speaker, my question is simple, and it's to the Minister responsible for housing. Why has his government left this gaping policy loophole that allows a few landlords to demand outrageous increases that renters just can't afford?
Minister responsible for housing.
Thanks you, Madam Speaker. And through the member opposite, there is a provision under the Act for people or landlords where there is extraordinary expenses and issues like that with regards to geographical area. It could be things like taxes, water, sewer, repairs, those type of things, to make an application to residential tenancy branch under that section of the Act. They allowed to go forward with it. There's been an application made to the residential tenancy bank. It will go to the arbitration, which is basically the administrative law process with regards to that. The tenants have the right to actually go and present and say it doesn't work for them. In the last few years, there's been 15 of these applications, Honourable Member. One of the applications was settled between the landlord and the tenants to actually improve the building in cooperation with each other. 3 have been approved, and the other 14 have actually been turned down at arbitration.
Vancouver Fairview on a supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The Minister appears to think that there's a process that renters who are struggling daily to put food on the table, make ends meet, and get on with their lives can suddenly turn their lives upside down to defend themselves against every loophole that an unscrupulous landlord will try to walk through. Honourable Speaker, after rent hike demands of up to 43% in Vancouver West End were reported in the news, the Minister said exactly what he said in this House. But we now have, Honourable Speaker, 2 cases in 2 weeks, and renters say there are many more. Unscrupulous landlords have found a loophole, and they will exercise it if they can. And not every renter is able to take the time and study the options available to them to contest these. Honourable Speaker, in the very, very difficult Vancouver rental market, people are being asked to bid up rent auctions while those who have a home are being forced out so the bidding wars can begin. Honourable Speaker, to the Minister responsible for housing, will he close this BC Liberal loophole before more landlords escalate the affordability crisis facing struggling renters in British Columbia?
Minister responsible for housing.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In actual fact, this is a successive, probably about 30 years now, this particular provision has been in successive residential tenancy acts in British Columbia. The reason for it is, as aging buildings come along, they need to be renovated or fixed. You have 2 options. You can either tear the building down and demolish it and lose the rental stock, or somebody can come and make an application for an extraordinary issue relative to a building. It's always been there for the protection of both property and long-term rentals. The reality is, honourable member, I will not prejudge the outcome of any one of these applications. It's totally independent of government. If it goes to arbitration at the Residential Tenancy Act, they get to go and have the arbitration. The arbitration can rule, and there can also be a judicial review subsequent to that. And honourable Chair, if somebody has a rent stress in British Columbia and it's relative to their income, they can always go to the rent assistance program, even if this were to be successful or not successful. There are over 30,000 households on that, none of which is supported by the opposition with regards to rental in British Columbia because they don't support the program. And Honourable Speaker, there in the City of Vancouver today alone, there's over 150 people who have been approved to buy their first home, who will vacate rental housing when they buy their homes in the next couple of months and put an additional 150 houses on rentals on the market for people to rent in the marketplace. I think
Thank you, Minister.
the process is there, it will be followed through, and I'm not prejudge the outcome.